Assalamu alaikum students. In today's lecture, we will study the text of Pygmalions Act 3, Part 2. In our previous lecture, we have studied about the Act 3, where we came to know that the scene Act 3 is taking place at Mrs. Higgins' house, and Insford Hill family arrives there, and the son of Mrs. Higgins, he teases guest, and he tells his mother about a lady which is about to come. So we read further here. The text is taken from the play Pygmalion. You can find a copy of the text from Google or any other source, and you can read by your books. I have copied all the text in my slides, and I will read one by one, and I will explain as well. So last time in part 1 we noticed that the story ended on the weight of a girl, and now here in this scene, that girl, she is about to come. So let's start with the reading. The parlor maid opening the door, Miss Doolittle. So parlor maid brings Miss Doolittle. Higgins, he rising hastily and running to Mrs. Higgins. Here she is, mother. He stands on tiptoe and makes signs over his mother's head to Eliza to indicate to her which lady is her hostess. Eliza, who is well dressed, produces an impression of such remarkable distinction and beauty as she enters that they will rise quite flustered. Guided by Higgins' signals, she comes to Mrs. Higgins with studied grace. Liza, speaking with pedantic correctness of pronunciation and great beauty of tone. How do you do, Mrs. Higgins? She gasps slightly in making sure of the her in Higgins, but is quite successful. Mr. Higgins told me I might come. So, in these lines, we can see that Miss Doolittle arrives here and she is wearing a beautiful dress. And Mr. Higgins actually points about the hostess of the house, who is his mother, Mrs. Higgins, because she is visiting first time the house of Mr. Higgins, and she tries to pronounce the words which correct pronunciation. Liza is basically is the nickname of Eliza. She is also called Liza in certain places in this play. The story moves further. Mrs. Higgins says, "Quite right. I am very glad indeed to see you. Pickering, how do you do, Miss Doolittle?" Liza, shaking hands with him. Colonel Pickering, isn't Mrs. Insford Hill? I feel sure we have met before. Miss Doolittle, I remember your eyes. So, in these lines, she is introduced with Mrs. Higgins and Mr. Pickering. And now, as Higgins was trying to remember about Insford family that he has met them earlier, now Miss Inford, she also remembers that she has met Miss Doolittle somewhere else. Basically, she is also remembering the same event which was happened in Act 1, where they saw Miss Doolittle selling flowers. So she is trying to remember that event actually. Liza, how do you do? She sits down on the ottoman gracefully in the place. Miss Insford Hill, introducing my daughter Clara. Liza, how do you do? Clara, impulsively, how do you do? She sits down on the ottoman beside Eliza, devouring her with her eyes. Now Liza is introduced with Clara, who is Miss Insford Hill, the daughter of Insford Hill. Freddie coming to the their side of ottoman. I have certainly had the pleasure, Mrs. Insford Hill, introducing my son Freddie. Liza, how do you do? Freddie bows and sits down in the Elizabethan chair, infatuated. So, in these lines, Freddie and Liza, they are both introduced with each other, and Freddie seems to be attracted by Liza's beauty. Higgins suddenly, by George, yes, it all comes back to me. They stare at him, Covent Garden. What a damned thing. Now, in this line, Higgins, remember that he has seen Higgins family in the first act in Covent Garden. Mrs. Higgins, Henry, please. He is about to sit on the edge of table. Don't sit on my writing table. You'll break it. Higgins, sorry. He goes to the divan, stumbling into the fender over the fire irons on his way, extricating himself with muttered imprecations and finishing his disastrous journey by throwing himself so impatiently on the divan that he almost breaks it. Mrs. Higgins looks at him but controls herself and says nothing. In these lines, comic elements are shown through the character of Mr. Higgins, who is doing some trivial activities which Mrs. Higgins doesn't like. She is not happy, and on the other hand, Mr. Higgins is actually nervous because she has brought Eliza to the home of Mrs. Higgins. Further, a long and painful pause ensues. Mrs. Higgins at last, conversationally, will it rain, do you think? Liza, the shallow depression in the west of these islands is likely to move slowly in an easterly direction. There are no indications of any great change in the barometrical situation. Freddie, ha ha ha. How awfully funny. Liza, what is wrong with that? Young man, I bet I got it right. Freddie killing. So now, dear students, as you all know, Lisa is visiting the house of Mrs. Higgins first time. Rather, she is actually visiting any house of upper class first time. So this is actually Eliza's first test. She tries to converse properly. She tries to follow the manners, and as Higgins told her mother that she will talk about weather and health, so her mother also tries to give her cues about the weather, and she talks about the weather in bookish language like the shallow depression in the west. So Freddie is actually, he thinks that she is not speaking properly. So, according to him, it is some sort of funny language. Mrs. Insford, I'm sure, I hope it won't turn cold. There is so much influenza about. It runs right through our whole family regularly every spring. Liza, my aunt died of influenza, so they said. Mrs. Insford Hill clicks her tongue sympathetically. Liza in the same tragic tone, but it's my belief they done the old woman in. So here Miss Inford Hill, she talks about the weather, she talks about the influenza, and she says that they all suffer from this disease in spring. Liza says that her mother has died about influenza, and when Mrs. Ensford tries to sympathize, he says that she was done in, mean to say, done the old women in. This is actually expression from the local dialect of England, which means when someone is killed, so they say done in. So here again, although she is trained to talk about the things which relate to upper class, but she mistakenly uses the words of lower class. Mrs. Higgins done her in. So Mrs. Higgins, because she is the lady of upper class, she doesn't know about the meaning of done her in. Liza, yes, Lord love you. Why should she die of influenza? She came through diphtheria right enough the year before. I saw her, my own eyes fairly blue with it. She was. They all thought she was dead, but my father, he kept ladling gin down her throat till she came to sudden that she bit the bowl of the spoon. So here Liza is telling the story of the death of her aunt. Again, comic elements are shown here that she was actually not dead, and she again talks about the death in a casual manner which was not accepted by the upper class people. Mrs. Insford Hill, dear me, Liza, what call would a woman with that strength in her have to die of influenza? What become of her new straw that should have come to me? Somebody pinched it. What I say is them as pinched it done her in. So Liza continues the story of the death of her aunt. She says that her aunt was a brave woman, so she couldn't die from influenza, but she thinks that someone has murdered her. Mrs. Ensford Hill, what does doing her in mean? Mrs. Ensford Hill, she is still not clear about the meaning of done in or doing in. Higgins now hastily, oh, that's the new small talk to do a person in means to kill them. Mrs. Insford Hill to Eliza, horrified, you surely don't believe that your aunt was killed? Aunt was killed? Neither do I not. Them she lived with would have killed her for her hat pin, let alone a hat. So here, because all the people they are from the upper class, so same like Mrs. Higgins, Mrs. Insford Hill, she is also curious about the meaning of doing in or done in. Here Higgins suddenly understands the issue. He says that it is a new small talk. Basically, he tries to cover the issue that the expressions of Eliza are not from the people of lower class. Basically, he says that this is a new fashion, and to do mean killing someone. So he tells the meaning. Further, the story continues. Mrs. Insfold Hill, but it can't have been right for your father to pour spirits down her throat like that. It might have killed her. Liza, not her. Jane was mother's milk to her. Besides, he'd poured so much down his own throat that he knew the good of it. Mrs. Insford Hill, do you mean that he drank? Liza drank, my word, something chronic. Mrs. Insford Hill, how dreadful for you. Again, here she is discussing about the story of her aunt, and again, she uses the expression which are not actually acceptable by the upper class. So that's why Mrs. Insford Hill, she is astonished on the vocabulary used by Eliza. Liza, not a bit. It never did him no harm, but I could see. But then he did not keep it up regular. On the burst, as you might say, from time to time, and always more agreeable when he had a drop in. When he was out of work, my mother used to give him fourpence, tell him to go out and not come back until he drunk himself cheerful and loving like. There is lots of women has to make their husbands drunk to make them fit to live with. Now, quite at her ease, you see, it's like this. If a man has a bit of conscience, it always takes him when she is sober, and then it makes him low spirit. A drop of booze just takes that off and makes him happy. To Freddie, who is in convulsions of suppressed laughter, here what are you sniggering at? So, in these lines, actually, G.B. Shah has portrayed the mentality of the people of the lower class. Although she is fully trained, but she still believes in the values of the lower class people. Like in previous slide, where Mrs. Insford Hill talks about the talks about her father. She asks him if he used to drink, and here she tries to explain in a funny way that yes, her mother actually asked asked his father to drink to become a lovable person, and she further says that basically the wives use this trick to make their husbands happy. But here, Freddie, who, who is a person of upper class, he laughs at the given expressions of Eliza. Freddie, the new small talk, you do it so awfully well. So Freddie is actually trying to mock him, but he is also defending her in a funny way that she talks in a new way, but she talks awfully. Liza, if I was doing it proper, what was you laughing at? To Higgins, have I said anything? I uttered. So Liza says that if she was talking differently or not according to the norms, why Freddie is laughing. So she asks from the Higgins about it. Mrs. Higgins says that not at all. Either, well, that's a mercy anyhow. Story moves on further. Higgins rising and looking at his watch. Ahem. Liza looking round at him, taking the hint and rising. Well, I must go. They all rise. Freddie goes to the door. So pleased to have met you. Goodbye. She shakes hand with Mrs. Higgins. Mrs. Higgins, goodbye. Liza, goodbye. Colonel Pickering. So here, actually, Liza has to go to another place, and Higgins and Pickering want her to visit that place as well because they want her to train according to the social norms of the society of that time. So she understands the hint of Higgins and withdraws. Pickering, goodbye, Miss Doolittle. They shake hands. So all of them shake hands. Liza nodding, the others goodbye all. Freddie opening the door for her. Are you walking across the park, Miss Doolittle? If so, Liza walk, not bloody likely sensation. I am going in a taxi. Again, in this slide, we can notice that Liza is using slang language, like the word bloody. This word was not common in the upper class people. Pickering gasps and sits down. Freddie goes out on the balcony to catch another glimpse of Eliza. Mrs. Insford Hill, suffering from shock. Well, I really can't get used to the new ways. Clara, oh, it's all right, Mama. Quite right. People will think we never go anywhere or see anybody if you are so old fashioned. So, Miss Insford, she is shocked by the expressions of Miss Doolittle. She says that the new ways are very difficult, and Clara says that as we do not go somewhere, so that's why we don't know about the new ways of speaking language. Basically, this is the mockery of the upper class people, that the upper class people usually use new dialects, new words in their language. So Higgins, in the form of the Higgins and Miss Doolittle characters, G.B. Shah is criticizing the social norms of the upper class, that whatever they do, they find an excuse or they find a justification. Like here it happened that when Miss Doolittle has used a slang word, so he has defended her that it is a new small talk or it is a new fashion. And the Insford family, which is not actually too much wealthy, they are also facing financial issues. So that's why they do not visit upper class families. So they think that they don't know the new ways of speaking a language. Mrs. Insford Hill, I dare say I am very old fashioned, but I do hope you won't begin using that expression, Clara. I have got accustomed to hear you talking about men as rotors and calling everything filthy and beastly, though I don't think it horrible and unladylike, but this last is really too much. Don't you think so, Colonel Pickering? Pickering, don't ask me. I've been away in India for several years and manners have changed so much that I sometimes don't know whether I am at a respectable dinner table or in a ship. Here we can notice that the conversation between Mrs. Insford Hill and Pickering show that the people of upper class, they tend to use the language of manners. It also shows about the gender roles, like Miss Inford's Hill says that The women, like her daughter, must speak the words which are positive in nature. They, the girls should not use these terms which are slang or having some negative sense. So she asked from the Pickering that these words are horrible and unladylike. But Pickering, who has visited India, he says that I don't mind because I have heard a lot of slang words. So here actually the theme of change is also there, that the people change with the passage of time. But basically it is again a mockery of the upper class. Clara, it's all a matter of habit. There is no right or wrong in it. Nobody means anything by it. And it's so quaint and gives such a smart emphasis to things that are not in themselves very witty. I find the new small talk delightful and quite innocent. Mrs. Insford Hill, well, after that, I think that's time for us to go. So, in these lines, we can see that the young generation actually follows the new way of fashion and speaking. So Clara is happy with the new small talk of Miss Doolittle, and here they are about to leave. So they say goodbye to everyone. Higgins, coming grimly at her from the divan and accompanying her to the door, goodbye. Be sure you try it on that small talk at the three at homes. Don't be nervous about it. Pitch it in strong. Clara, all smiles, I will goodbye. Such nonsense, all this early Victorian poetry. Higgins, tempting her, such damned nonsense. Clara, such bloody nonsense. In these lines, we can see that Higgins, he is trying to justify Miss Doolittle, so he asks Clara to copy the expression of Miss Doolittle. So he asks her to pronounce the words used by Miss Doolittle, like nonsense, damned nonsense, bloody nonsense. Miss Insford Hill conclusively, Clara, ha ha ha. She goes out radiant, conscious of being thoroughly up to date, and is heard descending the stairs in a stream of silvery laughter. Freddie, to the heavens at large, well, I ask you, gives it up and comes to Miss Higgins. Goodbye. Miss Higgins, shaking hands, goodbye. Would you like to meet Miss Doolittle again? In these lines, we can notice that Miss Inford, she doesn't like the Clara's interest in the expression of Miss Doolittle. And Mrs. Higgins, she asked Freddie to meet again. He said that yes, he will meet Miss Doolittle again because she has observed that he is interested in Miss Doolittle. Freddie eagerly, yes, I should. Mrs. Higgins, would you know my days? Again, there is mockery, you know my days. Mean to say, she is talking about the home days. So he can visit her on home days. Freddie, yes, thanks awfully, goodbye. Mrs. Inford Hill, goodbye. Mr. Higgins. Higgins, goodbye, goodbye. So, Mrs. Inford Hill to Pickering, it's no use. I shall never be able to bring myself to use that word. Pickering, don't, it's not compulsory, you'll get on quite well without it. Mrs. Inford Hill, only Clara is so down on me if I am not positively reeking with at least slang. Goodbye. Pickering, goodbye. They shake hands. In these lines, we can see that Higgins and Pickering are trying to impose the new expressions to Insford family. But Mrs. Insford, she says that I cannot follow these expressions because I am old fashioned, while Clara or Freddie they can use. Mrs. Insford Hill to Mrs. Higgins, you mustn't mind Clara. Pickering, catching from her lower tone that is not meant for him to hear, discreetly joins Higgins at the window. We are so poor, and she gets so few parties. Poor child, she doesn't quite know. Mrs. Higgins, seeing that her eyes are moist, takes her hand sympathetically and goes with her to the door. But the boy is nice, don't you think so? Mrs. Higgins, oh, quite nice. I shall always be delighted to see him. So, here in these lines, Miss Insford Hill, she tries to justify the reaction of Clara, and she actually there is again the writer is mocking the norms or the social values of that time. That the mother in Fort Hill, she is trying to defend her daughter because they are not rich like Mrs. Higgins, so they do not go into the royal parties or parties oftenly. So, because they are poor as compared to others, so they go in some parties. So that's why she says that she doesn't know about the new fashion or new ways of talking. Mrs. Insford Hill, thank you, dear. Goodbye. Higgins eagerly, well, is Eliza presentable? He swoops on his mother and drags her to the ottoman where she sits down in Eliza's place with her son on her left. Pickering returns to his chair on her right. So, here Mrs. Higgins, she she is surrounded by Pickering and Mr. Higgins. Mr. Higgins is actually keen to know about the Mrs. Doolittle communication and appearance. So that's why after the departure of Insford family, he straight away talks to her mother about herself. Mrs. Higgins, you silly boy, of course she is not presentable. She is a triumph of your art and for her dressmakers, but if you suppose for a moment she doesn't give herself away in every sentence she utters, you must be perfectly correct about her. So Mrs. Higgins says that she is not presentable. You have committed a crime, that you have made her fool, and she is not presentable as her expressions and manners are not acceptable by the upper class. Pickering, but don't you think something might be done? I mean, something to eliminate the sanguinary element from her conversation. Mrs. Higgins, not as long she is in Henry's hands. Higgins, do you mean that my language is improper? Mrs. Higgins, no, dearest, it would be quite proper, say on a canal bog, but it wouldn't be proper for her at a garden party. So Pickering, he inquires from Mrs. Higgins about the improvement in Miss Doolittle conversation. Mrs. Higgins says that she cannot improve her manners if she lives with Mr. Higgins. So Higgins, he is not actually happy on the comments of his mother. He asks from her about language, that is it improper, but the mother says that your language is proper, but the lady which you think that she is presentable, she cannot be accompanied in a garden party, because the garden parties of that time were considered as social gatherings in which the manners were followed. Higgins deeply injured. Well, I must say, now Higgins is deeply unhappy. Pickering interrupting him, "Come, Higgins, you must learn to know yourself. I haven't heard such language as yours since we used to review the volunteers in Hyde Park 20 years ago." Now, Pickering also says that the language of Higgins is not, Mr. Higgins is not appropriate as it was 20 years ago. Higgins, "Oh well, if you say, I suppose I don't always talk like a bishop." So Higgins here he tries to defend himself that he is not a bishop, mean to say he cannot use the language of the bishops or priests of the church. "Mrs. Higgins, Colonel Pickering, will you tell me what is the exact state of things in Wimpole Street?" So now Mrs. Higgins she asks about the status of the girl and Mr. Higgins. Pickering says that, "I have come to live there with Henry. We work together at my Indian dialects and we think it more convenient." Right, so I know all about that. It is an excellent arrangement. But where does this girl live? Higgins with us, of course. Where would she live? Mrs. Higgins, but on what terms? Is she a servant? If not, what is she? So here Pickering is happy because the topic is changed, but and he says that he is living with Mr. Higgins and he is working on the Indian dialects, Indian languages. Mrs. Higgins says that she knows about this activity, but actually she is interested to inquire about the status of Miss Doolittle, that how she is living with them. So she asks them, "Is she a servant? If not, what is she?" So basically, she is questioning the relationship of Mrs. Miss Doolittle and Mr. Higgins. So at that time, it was very immoral to be to live in a house without any relationship. Pickering slowly, "I think I know what you mean, Mrs. Higgins." Miss Higgins, "Well, dash me if I do. I had to work at the girl every day for months to get her to present pitch. Besides, she is useful, she knows where my things are and remembers my appointments and so forth. Mrs. Higgins, how does your housekeeper get on with her?" So here Higgins he says that he has provided a shelter to Miss Doolittle because he is working on her, he is training her, he is teaching her communication and language, and he says that she is very useful, she remembers about his appointments. So Mrs. Higgins says that, "What about your housekeeper?" Now again we can see the social class structure here. Housekeeper were considered an integral part of the upper class houses where they have the control of all house and they perform the duties related to house chores. So she is very curious about the status of housekeeper. She thinks that Miss Doolittle is working as a housekeeper, but when he says that he she is actually arranging her appointments and she knows his things, so that's why she is astonished that how does his housekeeper get on with her. Higgins, "Mrs. Pierce, oh, she is jolly glad to get so much taken off her hands. For before Eliza came, she had to have to find things and remind me of my appointments. She has got some silly bee in her bonnet about Eliza. She keeps saying, 'You don't think, sir, doesn't she, Pick? Pickering, yes, that's the formula. You don't think so? That's the end of every conversation about Eliza. Higgins, as if I ever stopped thinking about the girl and her confounded vowels and consonants. I am worn out thinking about her and watching her lips and her teeth and her tongue, not to mention her soul, which is the quaintest of the lot. So, in these lines, Higgins tells his mother, that the housekeeper of his home, she is glad to have the presence of Eliza because she helps the housekeeper to do so many works. And she also asks Higgins to think about Eliza, but it actually turns into an end of conversation because Higgins thinks that thinking about a girl means marriage. So he don't want to think about the marriage. He says that I am only interested in her training, so I teach her vowels, so that's why I look at the movements of her lips and teeth. But he does not look at her with the eyes of with the feelings of attraction. Mrs. Higgins, you certainly are pretty pair of babies playing with your live doll. So here Mrs. Higgins is criticizing both, that the both are babies and they are playing with the doll. Basically they are saying that you both are babies and you are playing with a doll, and here she refers Miss Doolittle as doll because they are doing an experiment on her, and dolls are meant to be played and experimented. Higgins playing the hardest job I ever tackled, make no mistake about that, mother. But you have no idea how frightfully interesting it to take a human being and change her into a quite different human being by creating a new speech for her. It is filling up the deepest gulf that separates class from class and soul from soul. Pickering, drawing his chair closer to Mrs. Higgins and bending over to her eagerly. Yes, it is enormously interesting. I assure you, Mrs. Higgins, we take Eliza very seriously. Every week, every day almost, there is some new change. We keep records of every stage, dozens of gramophone discs and photographs. So, Higgins says that this is a very hard job to train a person who belongs to a different class. He says that he is working very hard because he is working on the new speech which actually separates people from the humanity, and it differs from it separates class from class and soul from soul. Here is the theme of the class system, where the people of lower class are meant to be low low variety, meant to use low variety of language, and they don't have manners. So this is what here Higgins is mentioning, that he is trying to change her because it it separates her from humanity. And Pickering also tells that it is very interesting. They are working on Eliza and they are keeping their records, like they are recording her speaking and pronunciation in gramophones and discs. Higgins Higgins said that, yes, by George, it's the most absorbing experiment I ever tackled. She regularly fills our lives up, doesn't she, Pickering, we were always talking Eliza, Higgins teaching Eliza, dressing Eliza. In these lines, they are telling about the current activities that they are constantly working on Eliza, that they teach him, they tell her about the dressing. Mrs. Higgins what? Higgins inventing new Lizas. Higgins and Pickering speaking together. So here they say that they are working on new Eliza, mean to say a new person by their teaching. Higgins, she has the most extraordinary quickness of air. Pickering, I assure you, my dear Mrs. Higgins, that girl Higgins, just like a parrot, I've tried her with every Pickering, is a genius. She can play the piano quite beautifully. Higgins' possible sort of sound that a human being can make. Pickering. We have taken her to classical concerts and to music. Higgins. Continental dialects, African dialects, Hutton, Pickering, Hal, and it is all the same to her. She plays everything Higgins, clicks right off when she comes home. Whether it is Higgins, she picks them up like a shot right away, as she had Pickering, Beethoven and Brahms, or Leher and Lionel Markton. Higgins been at it all her life. Pickering, though 6 months ago she'd never as much as touched a piano. These lines Higgins tells that he is working on Eliza's, and at that time, playing piano was also considered a social activity. So he is discussing that Eliza has learned the ways of playing piano. She is so expert that she can work on different music dialects which she doesn't know 6 months ago. Mrs. Higgins putting her fingers in her ears as they are by this time shouting one another down with an intolerable noise. So again there is a funny situation. They both are speaking loudly. They are both telling about the Eliza. Pickering, I beg your pardon. He draws his chair. Higgins, sorry. When Pickering starts shouting, nobody can get a word in edgeways. Mrs. Higgins, be quiet, Henry. Colonel Pickering, don't you realize that when Eliza walked into Wimpole Street, something walked in with her? So here Mrs. Higgins again says that as Miss Doolittle has or Miss Eliza has came here, the bad manners also came here. As Higgins and Pickering are not following the manners, they are creating a great mess with their loud voices and noises. Pickering, her father did, but Henry's son soon got rid of him. Mrs. Higgins, it would have been more to the point if her mother had. But as her mother didn't, something else did. Pickering, but what? Mrs. Higgins, unconsciously dating herself by the word, a problem. So in these lines, Pickering says that there were some issues. He is actually mentioning about her father, who was actually not interested in the grooming of her daughter, his daughter. He took £5 and he allowed Eliza to live with them. But Mrs. Higgins says that it is a problem. Pickering, oh, I see the problem of how to pass her off as a lady. Higgins, I'll solve that problem if I have half solved it already. Mrs. Higgins, no, you two infinitely stupid male creatures, the problem of what is to be done with her afterwards. Higgins, I don't see anything in that. She can go her own way with the all advantages I have given her. Here, Pickering, he thinks that the mother of Higgins is worried about Miss Doolittle, that how she will become a lady of upper class. But Mrs. Higgins says that no, this is not the issue, and she criticizes them being male because they don't know about the manners of the women. So again we can say that the writer has criticized or portrayed the manners of the upper class, that even in manners women must have different manners. She has to learn at that time. So Higgins said that I have trained her, I have given her training. Now she can speak well. Can she can dress well according to the social status of that time. So he says that I am done with the halfway of training her, and rest of the things I'll get these things improved very soon. Mrs. Higgins, the advantages of that poor woman who was here just now, the manners and habits that disqualify a fine lady from earning her own living without giving her a fine lady's income. Is that what you mean? Pickering being rather bored, oh, that will be all right, Mrs. Higgins. Higgins will find her some light employment. Pickering, she's happy enough, don't you worry about her. Goodbye. He shakes hands if he were consoling a frightened child and makes for the door. So here, Mrs. Higgins is actually telling them that manners and habits that disqualify her as a lady who can work or who can get job. For example, if she is trained according to the upper class but she doesn't have qualification to earn money, and even she cannot sell flowers like as she did in past. So she is worried about the status of Miss Doolittle, Eliza. But Pickering is not happy with the discussion. Higgins said that we will find her some job so that she does not face the financial issues. Higgins, anyhow, there is no good bothering now. The thing's done. Goodbye, mother. Pickering, there are plenty of openings. We'll do just right. Goodbye. Higgins, let's take her to the Shakespeare exhibition at Earl's Court. Pickering, yes, let's. He remarks, her remarks will be delicious. Higgins, she will mimic all the people for us when we get home. In these lines, now we can notice that they both are not happy with the discussion by the discussion of Mrs. Higgins about Miss Doolittle, and they are deciding to leave Mrs. Higgins' home, and they say that we must take Eliza on an exhibition where she can mimic the dialects or language of the people, and it will be a very interesting activity. Here we can notice that they are taking Eliza as a subject of experiment. They are not considering herself as a woman with feelings. They are actually conducting an experiment, so they have a bet that they can change someone in with a few months training. So they are taking her as a device or as a way of entertainment which will amuse them. Pickering, both are heard laughing as they go downstairs, so they actually depart from Mrs. Higgins' home. Mrs. Higgins rises with an impatient bounce, returns to her work at the writing table. She sweeps a litter of disarranged papers out of her way, snatches a sheet of paper from her stationery case, tries to write. At the third line, she gives it up, flings down her pen, grips the table angrily, and exclaims, "Oh, men, men, men." Here we can notice that Mrs. Higgins is very anxious. She tries to write about something, but she is unable to write because she is not happy on the activities of his son, her son. So this is the end of the text of Act 3. Dear students, in today's lecture we have studied about the Eliza's first test as she visited the home of Mrs. Higgins, and she tries to converse properly, but she she is unable to do so. And here we can notice that she makes blunders in her speech and she does not follow the manners of the society. And here we also notice that Clara is fed up with the manners and customs of high society, and she is not interested, but later on she thinks to copy the expressions of Miss Doolittle. And we also notice that Eliza's lower class identity is still reflected through her conversation, although she has an appearance of upper class. So, here we can see that there is a theme of appearance and reality, because G.B. Shah has tried to tell us about the appearance and reality of the social classes of that time. And we also notice that the speech also reflects our identity. And we also notice that Eliza does not yet fit in with Mrs. Higgins' upper class, as shown by her lack of manners and speaking. And we also notice in this act that the Mrs. Ainsford Hill can believe that Eliza's way of speaking is the new fashion. So this is also a mockery of the upper class, that whatever they try to speak, they justify it in their own ways. And in the last, we also notice that Mrs. Higgins is worried about her son, that he is treating Eliza as a subject to his experiment. He considers Eliza a plaything for his academic enjoyment, and she is worried because she thinks that it will make Eliza stuck between lower class and upper class. And it also tells that she is compassionate, and she realizes that Eliza will find herself in difficulties if she remains with Mr. Higgins. So that's why she is furious and she is anxious. So here the Act 3 ends. The text is taken from the Pygmalion, and Act is 3 from Act 3. So you can study from the books. You can download the books from Google or any other source. Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.